Hi, my name is Athira, and this is my assignment on the brachial plexus. In general terms, the brachial plexus is simply a group of nerves that come off of the spinal cord and then travel down the arm to innervate muscles and sensory innervation in our arms. But today I'm going to go more in depth than that. So to begin, the roots that actually make up the brachial plexus are the C5, C6, C7, C8, and T1 spinal cord nerves. Now these are just the roots. They're going to merge, they're going to divide, and then eventually give rise to different nerves in our arm. So the C5 and the C6 come together to form the upper trunk. The C7 forms the middle trunk. C8 and T1 are going to come together to form the lower trunk. Now, what's important is that before these roots even form the trunks, there are nerves that come off of them. For example, the dorsal scapular nerve comes off of C5, and that nerve is going to innervate the levator scapulae muscles, as well as the rhomboid major and the rhomboid minor. The long thoracic nerve comes off of the C5, C6, and the C7 root. So collectively, those three roots, their fibers form the long thoracic nerve, and that's going to innervate the serratus anterior muscle. Now, the trunk itself, so the upper trunk itself, gives rise to the suprascapular nerve, and that's going to innervate the supraspinatus muscle and the infraspinatus muscle in our shoulder. It also gives rise to the nerve of subclavius, and that's going to innervate the subclavius muscle. Now, in our arm, we have our clavicle. So one thing important to note is that the roots and trunks, these portions of our brachial plexus is going to be supraclavicular. So that means it's going to be above our clavicle. The rest of it, so the divisions, the cords, the branches, are going to be infraclavicular. So from this point on, this is when the nerve fibers are moving below our clavicle. Now, each trunk is simply going to divide into anterior and posterior divisions, and this just represents their path in our body. So upper anterior posterior, middle anterior posterior, lower posterior anterior. Now, to further, so then these divisions are going to merge to form cords. So the anterior divisions of the upper and the middle trunks are going to form the lateral cord. All of the posterior divisions of the upper, middle, and the lower are going to come together and form the posterior cord. Last, the anterior division of the lower trunk is going to form the medial cord. And like I was talking about earlier, there are nerves that come off of these cords as well. So the lateral cord is going to give rise to the lateral pectoral nerve, and this nerve is going to innervate the pectoralis major muscle. The posterior cord gives rise to the upper subscapularis nerve, the lower subscapularis nerve, and the thoracodorsal nerve. To begin, the upper scapularis nerve and the upper subscapularis nerve and the lower subscapularis nerve, both of these are going to innervate the subscapularis muscle, but the upper subscapular nerve also innervates the teres major muscle. Moving on, the thoracodorsal nerve, this innervates the latissimus dorsi. The medial cord gives rise to three nerves: the medial pectoral nerve, the medial brachial cutaneous nerve, and the medial antebrachial cutaneous nerve. So the medial pectoral nerve is going to innervate both the pectoralis major and the pectoralis minor muscles. The medial brachial cutaneous nerve is going to provide sensory information on the medial part of our brachium, and the medial antebrachial cutaneous nerve is going to provide sensory information for the medial aspect of our antebrachium. Now, these cords then come together and divide to form branches, and this is where the brachial plexus is officially coming to like a termination. So the lateral cord is going to divide and form the musculocutaneous nerve, and it also has a second division in which it comes together with the medial cord to form the median nerve. The posterior cord divides into the axillary nerve and the radial nerve. The medial cord also divides into the ulnar nerve. So remember, the medial cord and the lateral cord still come together to form the median nerve. The reason I've written it out like this, though, is because this is the way it lies in our arm from lateral to medial. So which side do I want to go to? So if we look at it, like, this is the lateral aspect of our arm and this is the medial aspect. So if we're thinking from lateral to medial, it is going to go musculocutaneous, axillary, radial, median, and then ulnar nerve. Okay, so what do these nerves innervate? The musculocutaneous nerve innervates the muscles in the anterior brachium. So that's going to be like our biceps. It also provides sensory information of our lateral antebrachium. The axillary nerve. The axillary nerve is going to innervate our deltoid and the teres minor. It provides sensory information for the the posterior lateral aspect of our deltoid. The radial nerve is going to innervate the muscles in the posterior compartment of our brachium as well as our antebrachium. It provides sensory innervation for the inferior aspect of our deltoid. The median nerve is going to innervate some of the muscles in our anterior compartment of our antebrachium. It innervates some of the muscles in our anterior compartment of our antebrachium as well as the thenar muscles in our hand. For sensory information, it's going to innervate the second and the third digits as well as the lateral 2/3 aspect of the anterior portion of our hand. And last but not least, the ulnar nerve. The ulnar nerve is going to innervate muscles in the anterior compartment of our antebrachium as well as the hypothenar muscles, the interosseous muscles, the short muscles, and the adductor muscle in our hand. For sensory information, it's going to do the anterior and posterior 1/3 of our hand. But yeah, so that's the brachial plexus, and I hope you can still read this and it's not too dark. Thanks.